So, the topic we have selected for our project is the classification of flowers from the Oxford 102 dataset. In our project, we have experimented on various ways to implement a neural network with the aim of classifying the flowers. Let us begin with the dataset that we used. The dataset we used was the Oxford 102 flowers dataset. As the name suggests, it had a total of 102 different flowers present in the dataset with at least 40 images per class, and some flowers even having 215 images per class. It had a total of 8,189 images, and we decided to split the images in a 70-20-10 ratio for our train validation and test set. The dataset consisted of both pure and segmented images. The segmented images contain a blue color mask around the flower, which covers the background and eliminates any background noise present in the picture. After training our pre-trained models with the pure images and the segmented images, we expected the segmented images to give us a better accuracy since it eliminates the background in the pictures, thereby reducing the noise in the pictures. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case, and we got a worse accuracy on training the model with segmented images. On further exploration, we noticed that our images had a few issues. 1. The complete image was being masked. 2. Majority of the flower was missing with only a couple of petals visible. And 3. The complete flower was segmented with only the background left unsegmented. We created a function to drop those segmented images that had more than 85% of the area covered by the segmentation mask. Our model consisted of an ensemble of the 5 best pre-trained models that we found. Ensembling is a popular method being implemented in majority of the winning Kaggle competitions nowadays. It works on the principle of 2 heads are better than 1 and uses the combined power of our 5 models to make the final prediction. We use an ensemble to help us give the final increase in accuracy and make better predictions. Now we are going to talk about the experimentation pipeline that we used to tune and build our model. In the first experiment, we ran 2 of them side by side as they were correlated. We wanted to see which of our data sets, pure images, segmented images, good segmented images, these are the ones with the bad segmented images dropped, and the small data set, which one of these performed the best with the pre-trained models. We wanted to see which dataset to take and also which of the pre-trained models to take. We ran each of the models against the different datasets and realized that pure images gave us the best performance. We used the top performing model and the pure images for the rest of the fine-tuning. We performed a 5-fold cross-validation to select the best hyperparameters. Next, we tested for the number of neurons in the hidden layer. We tested for 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, and 1024. We discovered that 256 was the best number of neurons for the hidden layer, but it gave us a worse overall accuracy compared to the baseline model. We then added a batch normalization layer along with dropouts to prevent the model from overfitting and try to improve on the accuracy. There was a slight improvement as seen by the graph with the batch normalization added, which is the graph on the right. But since these results were also lower than the baseline model accuracies, we proceeded with the learning rate test with the baseline model itself. We checked for learning rates 0.1, 0.005, 0.001, 0.0005, 0.0001, and discovered that the learning rate of 0.0005 was the optimal value. But we chose 0.001 since the difference was very low and the number of training epochs was much lower with 0.001. We then took the best parameters and ran the fine-tuning by unfreezing the base model weights and training the whole model. First, we tried with just our baseline model, but that tended to overfit. Therefore, we used the model with the extra hidden layer along with the batch normalization and dropouts. As seen from the graphs, using the batch normalization and extra layer, the graph on the right, actually improved our val loss to 0.2 against the baseline model of 0.14, the graph on the left. Therefore, we added the additional layer, batch normalization, and dropouts to our top 5 models, and then performed the final fine-tuning by unfreezing the weights. We finally experimented with two ensemble learning techniques and then made the final prediction. Methods for ensembling. One was a basic aggregation of the probabilistic outputs, and the other was building a neural network to make the final prediction based on the outputs of the 5 best pre-trained models. We will first talk about the aggregation model. For the aggregation method, we used the 5 best fine-tuned pre-trained models and trained them on the trained data and validated them with the test data. For the testing part, let's talk about the second technique we used. We used the same 5 models for the second experiment, trained the 5 models on the trained data and validated them with the validation data. We then used these models to make predictions of the validation set. Then built a model to aggregate and ensemble the results together. For testing, predicted on the test set using our 5 models individually, then use the outputs of the test set predictions as inputs to our ensemble model. The ensemble model then makes the final prediction on the outputs of the 5 best models.
We also explore few-shot training in our project. Few-shot training is training a neural network with very few training samples. Few-shot training is an issue prevalent in many deep learning problems due to the unavailability of sufficient training data. Deep neural networks such as CNNs require a huge amount of training data because they have a large number of trainable parameters. If we do not have enough training samples, it leads to model underfitting and the model cannot make accurate predictions. We performed transfer learning on a much smaller dataset, about 25% of the size of the original training dataset, and we recorded the results. The results that we obtained were 90% classification accuracy, which was much less than the classification accuracy on the big dataset. We explore a special network called a Siamese neural network to check whether that improves the classification accuracy for the few-shot training problem. A Siamese network learns to produce feature vectors for each image such that images belonging to the same class are closer in the feature space, whereas images belonging to separate classes are further apart. To attain this, the Siamese network takes inputs in the form of triplets. That is, 3 images are joined together to form one training sample. A triplet consists of an anchor, which is a reference image from any particular class, a positive image, which is an image belonging to the same class as an anchor, and a negative image, which is an image belonging to any other class than the anchor. The Siamese network consists of a CNN model to generate embeddings for the anchor, positive, and negative images. The model learns to produce embeddings clustered according to classes by using a special triplet loss function. We conducted hyperparameter tuning to find the best configuration of the CNN model that generates embeddings for a Siamese network. It consists of EfficientNet V2B2, which is the best performing pre-trained model for a big data set, and the weights initialized as the weights of the ImageNet dataset. Also add a global average pooling layer and a dropout layer to add regularization and prevent overfitting on the model. And we have a final dense layer that generates embeddings in the form of a 50-dimensional vector for us. Siamese network does not learn how to classify flowers directly, but learns to find the embedding it is closest to in the feature space. To perform prediction after training, we need to provide the Siamese network with a support set. Our support set consists of 5 images from each flower class. We then obtain the embeddings of each image in the support set. To make prediction on a test image, we generate its embedding through the trained model, and we find the support image it is closest to in the feature space. The predicted class of the test image is then the class of the support image. We noticed that the accuracy that we achieved on the Siamese network is quite poor. It is only 30%. This is because there is high interclass similarity between flowers and low within class similarity. As we can see in these images, the predicted image is very similar looking to the actual image of another class.